Ethan sat alone in his small living room, the soft hum of his desk lamp filling the quiet space. Outside, the night was still, almost too still, as if the world had paused. The streetlights flickered in their usual rhythm, and the occasional car passed by, leaving trails of dim orange light. Ethan had been working on his personal project, a small robot meant to help with household chores, for hours. His hands were greasy and his eyes a little tired, but he felt content. It was one of those nights where everything was calm, the kind of calm that felt like it could last forever. A sudden, soft knock at the front door made him jump. His heart skipped a beat. Visitors at this hour were rare. Very rare. Who could that be? He whispered to himself. He wiped his hands on a rag and went toward the door, cautious but curious. He peeked through the peephole and froze. Standing there was a woman, but not an ordinary woman. She was tall. Her skin shimmered faintly as if tiny lights were dancing across it, and her eyes glowed softly in the dark. Her hair moved slightly, not with the wind, but as if it had a life of its own. She was wearing a long, flowing garment that seemed to change color subtly, blending with the darkness outside. Ethan blinked. His mind raced. "Is this real?" he muttered under his breath. Before he could even react, the knock came again. Louder this time, more insistent. "Please," a calm, melodic voice said. "I need shelter. Please open the door." Ethan's hand trembled slightly as he reached for the doorknob. Fear battled with curiosity, but something deeper, a human instinct to help, urged him forward. He unlocked the door and slowly opened it. The woman stepped inside without hesitation, though she was careful not to touch anything. She moved gracefully, almost floating, and looked around with large, intelligent eyes. Ethan noticed faint markings on her skin that glowed when she moved. They were intricate, almost like circuits or a map of constellations. I'm Ethan," he said, trying to sound calm. Who are you?" She paused and studied him for a moment. "My name is Lyra," she said. "I am far from home. I was being hunted. I had nowhere else to go." Ethan's mind spun. Hunted? By whom? And how did she speak perfect English? "Hunted? What do you mean?" he asked, keeping his voice steady, though his heart raced. Lyra looked down, her glowing eyes dimming slightly. "My world, my people. There are those who wish me harm. I escaped, but they follow me. I needed a safe place for just a short while." Ethan swallowed hard. His apartment was small, but it was safe. Could he trust her? Could he even trust himself to make the right choice? And yet when he looked into her eyes, he saw fear, desperation, and something almost human. A plea for help that went beyond words. "Okay," he said finally. "You can stay, just be careful," Lyra nodded. "Thank you." Her voice was soft, but there was a strength in it, a calm certainty that made Ethan feel slightly at ease. He led her inside and gestured toward the living room. "Sit, I'll get you something to drink. Water, tea, something." "Water is enough," she said politely. As Ethan went to the kitchen, he couldn't help but glance at her again. She was not only beautiful in a strange, otherworldly way, but she radiated an aura of intelligence and power. He wondered what kind of life she had lived to come to this point, standing in his living room in the dead of night. He returned with a glass of water and handed it to her. She took it carefully, her fingers brushing his hand briefly. A faint warmth spread through him at the touch, though it was brief. She drank quietly, and when she was done, she placed the glass on the table with a delicate grace that made it seem heavier than it was. Ethan sat across from her. I have questions," he said. "I mean, who are you? Where are you from? And why now, why here?" Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes reflecting the dim light. "I cannot explain everything. Some things are too dangerous. But I will tell you what I can. My people live far from your world. We are explorers, travelers of the stars. And yes, there are those who wish me harm because I hold knowledge they fear." Ethan's mind raced. Explorers of the stars? Knowledge that could be dangerous? This was beyond anything he had ever imagined. Yet for some reason he felt calm. He felt a strange trust building. Maybe it was the way she spoke, or maybe it was the feeling that humans, no matter how small or weak they seemed compared to the universe, had a way of standing strong when it mattered most. You look like you're from a different world," he said cautiously. "And you don't look like anyone I've ever seen. Are you?" "I am as I am," she said with a small smile. "But yes, I am different. I come from a place far from here, and I'm not like your people." Ethan nodded slowly. I guess. I guess that doesn't matter. You're here now and you need help. That's what matters. Lyra's eyes softened. You are kind, she said simply. Even though you do not know me, you offered help. That is rare. They sat in silence for a moment. Ethan couldn't help but notice small things about her. How the air seemed to shimmer slightly when she moved. How her presence made the room feel both colder and warmer at the same time. And how her eyes, though alien, seemed to understand him in ways no one else ever had. Can I ask what you mean by being hunted? Ethan finally said. Lyra hesitated. There are factions in my world. Powerful ones. They believe some knowledge is theirs alone. I possess information they fear. Information that could change many worlds if misused. I escaped, but they follow me. Ethan's mind struggled to process it all. His neighbor complaining about loud music felt small compared to this. The universe suddenly seemed so much larger and more dangerous, but he also felt a surge of determination. He had a choice. He could hide, he could call for help and risk her capture, or he could protect her. I'll help you, he said finally. Whatever it takes. Lyra looked at him, a mix of surprise and gratitude in her expression. You truly would do this? Ethan nodded. Yes, because it's the right thing to do. Because humans, we do not always have advanced technology or strength, but we have courage, and sometimes courage is enough. Her eyes glowed faintly brighter, almost like a silent acknowledgement of his words. You are extraordinary, she said softly. Not because of strength, but because of heart. That matters more than you know. A sudden noise outside made them both tense. Ethan went to the window and peeked. The street was empty, quiet as before, but he couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He turned back to Lyra. We need to be careful. If someone is following you, we can't let them find you here. Lyra nodded. I know I will stay close to you. But there is something you should see. She reached into her garment and pulled out a small device. It was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. It pulsed with soft light and tiny symbols floated above it, moving as if alive. This is part of me. Part of my world. It can help us stay safe if used wisely. Ethan stared at it, both amazed and overwhelmed. I don't even know where to start with that. Lyra smiled faintly. You will learn. You have a mind for solutions, I can see it. Together we can survive the night, and perhaps more than the night. Ethan felt a mix of excitement and fear. The night had begun with quiet work and simple peace, and now it had transformed into something he could never have imagined. An encounter with a being from another world. A life that depended on his choices and a future that was suddenly larger than the small town he had always known. As the clock ticked on, Ethan and Lyra sat together in the quiet living room, the strange device between them casting soft shifting lights on the walls. Outside the world remained dark and still, but inside the air was alive with possibility, and in that moment, Ethan realized one simple truth. Humanity, no matter how ordinary, had a chance to shine, even against the vast unknown. The night was far from over and the adventure had only just begun. The night was quiet outside, but inside Ethan's small apartment, tension hummed like electricity. The alien woman Lyra sat near the glowing device she had brought with her, her eyes reflecting its soft, shifting lights. Ethan could feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on him. He had made a choice to trust her, but trusting someone from another world, someone whose very presence defied everything he had known, was harder than he imagined. I should tell you more, Lyra said after a long pause, her voice calm but serious. You need to understand why I'm here. Ethan leaned forward in his chair. Yes, please, I need to know. She took a deep breath as if drawing strength from the room itself. My world. It is far from here, light years away. We were explorers, travelers among the stars. Some of us study, some of us observe, some of us protect knowledge. I was part of a group tasked with something important. And there are others, factions who believe that knowledge should belong to them alone. They are dangerous. They would destroy anything, anyone, to get it. Ethan's hands tightened around the arm of his chair. And they are after you? Lyra nodded slowly. Yes, I escaped. But I fear they will not stop until they find me. Her gaze met his. I am not used to asking for help. I never imagined someone from a small world like yours would offer it so freely. Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. Despite the fear, he also felt pride. Humans, he thought, had a way of rising to challenges, even when the odds seemed impossible. "Well," he said with a small, nervous laugh, "I've never had an alien woman knock on my door at midnight asking for shelter, so I guess this is new territory for both of us." Lyra smiled faintly. It was a soft, almost human gesture, but there was a depth to it that made Ethan's stomach tighten with curiosity. "New territory," she repeated. "Yes, that is exactly it." They sat in silence for a few minutes. Ethan's mind kept returning to the glowing device. "Can you show me what that does?" he asked finally. Lyra glanced at it, then back at him. "It is part of me, part of my world's technology. It can detect energy, create small protective fields, and communicate over long distances, but it is delicate. Misuse can attract attention," Ethan nodded slowly. "Then we'll be careful. We'll figure it out together." Her eyes widened slightly. "You are brave. Or foolish. Perhaps both," Ethan chuckled nervously. "I've been called both before. But right now bravery seems more useful." As they spoke, Ethan noticed small things. How Lyra's presence seemed to change the air in the room, how her glowing eyes followed him as he moved, and how she seemed to sense the slightest shift in his mood. It was as if she could read him, not just with her mind, but with something deeper, something almost instinctive. After a moment, Lyra spoke again. "I should warn you. They are close. My pursuers are relentless. Even your world, your small town, will not hide me if they arrive. We must be ready." Ethan's pulse quickened. "Then we prepare. I have some tools, some electronics. Maybe we can use them to help you stay safe." Lyra tilted her head, considering him. "I did not expect such a response. Most would be afraid, or call for help, which could endanger me further. You trust me." "That is rare." Ethan shrugged, though his hands trembled slightly. "I don't know if I trust you completely yet," he admitted.
"But I know that helping you is the right thing to do."
"And sometimes that's enough." Lyra's eyes glimmered faintly. "Enough, yes, that is true." For the next hour they worked together quietly. Ethan showed her small gadgets he had built over the years, tools he had tinkered with, and devices he thought might be useful. Lyra observed closely, sometimes adjusting, sometimes enhancing. It was remarkable. She could see possibilities in simple technology that Ethan had never imagined. "This is incredible," he said finally, holding up a small device that now hummed with energy. "With your knowledge, it does more than I thought possible." Lyra nodded. "And yet it is your hands that make it real. Knowledge alone is nothing without action. You are clever, Ethan," he smiled faintly. "Thanks, that means a lot coming from someone like you." Suddenly there was a soft sound outside the window, a whisper of movement. Ethan froze. Lyra's eyes narrowed and she moved toward the device, activating a faint shield that shimmered around them. "They are near," she whispered. "We must stay quiet." Ethan's heart pounded. He could feel the fear building, but he also felt something stronger, determination. Humans, he realized, were capable of facing danger head-on, even when the odds were against them. What do we do?" he asked. Lyra glanced at him, her expression serious. "We hide, we stay silent, and we prepare for when they come." Minutes passed like hours. The night outside remained eerily quiet, but Ethan could sense the tension building. He and Lyra moved cautiously, placing small devices around the apartment, making silent barriers, and preparing a plan for escape if necessary. It was strange. He had never imagined he would be using his skills to protect someone from another world. And yet he felt alive in a way he had never felt before. Finally, Lyra turned to him. "You have done well. Even without training for this, you adapt. You think clearly under pressure. Humans are stronger than I imagined." Ethan laughed softly, shaking his head. "I guess I'm learning from the best teacher." Lyra's smile was faint but genuine. "Perhaps. And perhaps we will survive this night because of it." The hours passed slowly, and Ethan realized he was no longer afraid. The fear was still there, of course, but it was tempered by something stronger. Trust. He trusted Lyra to guide them, and she trusted him to act when it mattered. Together, they were preparing to face a danger far greater than anything either had imagined. As the first hints of dawn touched the sky, Lyra finally relaxed slightly. "For now, we are safe, but this is only temporary. I must find a more secure place soon." Ethan nodded. "We'll figure that out. You're not alone, not while I'm here." Lyra's eyes softened. "Your courage," Your heart, it is rare. I see now why humans can endure so much. You are remarkable. Ethan felt a flush of warmth. It was strange hearing praise from someone so extraordinary, someone from another world. And yet he felt proud, not for himself, but for what humans could be. Brave, kind, clever, and capable of making a difference, even against impossible odds. As the sun began to rise, casting light through the blinds, Ethan and Lyra sat together in quiet reflection. Outside, the world seemed calm and ordinary, but inside, they both knew the danger was far from over. The night had revealed truths neither of them had expected, about the universe, about each other, and about the human spirit. For Ethan, it was a revelation. A simple human, living an ordinary life, could still be a hero in ways he had never imagined. And for Lyra, it was proof that even in a galaxy full of wonders and dangers, there were beings worth trusting, beings capable of courage, compassion, and extraordinary action. The day ahead would bring challenges, but for now they had a moment of peace. A fragile, fleeting peace, but enough to strengthen their resolve. And in that quiet morning light, both of them understood something essential. Trust could be forged in the most unexpected places, and even the smallest acts of courage could change the course of events far larger than themselves. The night was over, but their journey was just beginning. The morning sun streamed through the blinds, painting Ethan's small apartment with pale light. But the calm of dawn was deceptive. Ethan and Lyra both knew that the danger was far from gone. The quiet night had only been temporary. Somewhere out there, her pursuers were moving closer, searching for any sign of her presence. Lyra stood by the window, her glowing eyes scanning the empty street. Ethan noticed how carefully she moved, how every gesture was precise and deliberate. "They are near," she said softly. "We must prepare for what is coming." Ethan nodded. He had spent the night thinking, planning, trying to anticipate what might happen. He knew that humans were not as advanced as the alien factions chasing Lyra, but humans had something that could make a difference: ingenuity. He rolled up his sleeves, ready to act. "Okay," he said. "We have to use what we have. Your technology, my knowledge. Together we can create something that will keep them away, or at least buy us time." Lyra turned to him, a faint smile touching her lips. "I will follow your lead, Ethan, but be careful. Even a small mistake could be dangerous." They began working together, combining their skills. Ethan brought out his tools, wires, small circuits, and his laptop. Lyra connected her device, the one that pulsed with soft alien light, to Ethan's circuits. The results were immediate. Small fields of energy shimmered around the apartment, invisible but strong enough to act as barriers. "This is incredible," Ethan whispered, adjusting a wire. "It's like magic, but real." "You're amazing." Lyra tilted her head. "No, you are amazing. You think quickly, you adapt. Qualities my people admire but rarely see in one so young and simple. Humans have a spark." Ethan chuckled nervously, though the fear in his chest remained. "I hope this spark is enough. Because they're going to come soon. I can feel it." As if on cue, a subtle vibration ran through the floor. A soft hum outside, almost like a distant engine, made both of them tense. Ethan rushed to the window, peering through the blinds. Shadows moved along the street, shapes he could barely make out. Alien drones, small, sleek, silent, scanned the area. "They are searching," Lyra said. "They will find us if we do not act carefully." Ethan felt his heart race. He looked at the makeshift devices they had built. "We can't hide forever," he said. "But maybe we can mislead them." Lyra nodded. "Yes, diversion strategy, that is human. Let us try it." They worked quickly, placing small signal disruptors near the doors and windows. The devices emitted faint energy pulses, confusing sensors and making it harder for the drones to detect movement inside. Ethan felt a surge of pride. The drones were highly advanced, but humans had an edge: creativity. "Ready?" Ethan asked, his hand on one of the devices. Lyra nodded. "Ready." The first drone appeared near the street outside. Ethan held his breath. The device hummed softly, sending energy pulses toward the drone. The alien machine wavered, its sensors disrupted, then moved on, slightly confused. Ethan's pulse quickened. "It's working." Lyra's eyes glowed faintly. "Yes, but more will come. We must stay alert." Minutes passed and more drones arrived. Ethan and Lyra worked in sync, moving quickly, adjusting devices, creating small bursts of energy to confuse the sensors. Each time a drone approached, it hesitated, scanning the street, but never entered the apartment. "This is incredible," Ethan whispered again, watching a drone tilt and move away from the building. "I can't believe it's working." Lyra smiled faintly. Human ingenuity. Simple, creative, unpredictable. That is why humans survive. You are cleverer than many of my people expected. Ethan felt a rush of pride mixed with relief. "We make a good team," he said. "Yes," Lyra replied softly. "Stranger than I imagined, but yes. Together we are stronger." Suddenly a loud metallic clang echoed from the street. One of the drones had collided with a parked car. Ethan's heart pounded. "They're getting desperate," he said. "They'll try harder." Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, surprisingly warm. "Stay calm, observe, think. That is what humans do best. Even now you remain steady. That matters." Ethan nodded. His fear had not vanished, but it was replaced by determination. He adjusted one of the devices, sending a more powerful pulse toward the street. The drones hesitated, then retreated slightly. Ethan couldn't help but grin. "We're actually doing it," he said. Lyra's eyes glimmered. "Yes, but remember, this is only temporary. They will return. We must plan our next move carefully." Ethan looked at her, the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. "We'll need a better location," he said. "Somewhere we can move quickly, hide effectively, and still stay in control." "Do you know a place?" Lyra thought for a moment. "There is an abandoned facility outside the town. It is isolated, protected by natural barriers. It is ideal for temporary safety." Ethan's mind raced. "We can get there tonight. I can drive and we can use the devices to cover our escape." Lyra nodded. "Good, but the path will not be easy. They will anticipate our moves. We must be clever." For the next few hours they prepared. Ethan packed small devices, wires, and tools. Lyra carried her device, adjusting settings and connecting it to small portable energy shields they could deploy along the route. Every step was planned, every movement calculated. As night fell again, the world outside became quiet. Ethan and Lyra moved cautiously through the dark streets, avoiding the main roads. Small drones appeared in the distance, but the portable devices confused them, giving Ethan and Lyra just enough cover to slip past. "This is like a game," Ethan whispered, his eyes scanning the shadows. "Except the stakes are, well, everything." Lyra smiled faintly. "Yes, and in games the clever player often wins. That is why humans endure, even when faced with beings far stronger, far faster, far more advanced. You adapt. You think. You survive." Ethan felt a rush of pride. It was strange. He was an ordinary human, but in this moment he realized something important. Human ingenuity was not just about technology. It was about courage, creativity, and the will to survive. Finally, after a tense journey through back streets and empty fields, they reached the abandoned facility. It was an old, crumbling building, overgrown with plants and hidden from view. Ethan and Lyra slipped inside, sealing the entrance with makeshift barriers and activating energy shields from Lyra's device. For a moment, they could breathe. They were safe for now. Ethan leaned against the wall, exhausted but exhilarated. "We made it," he said, smiling. Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes reflecting relief and admiration. "Yes, and it is because of you, your mind, your courage, your humanity. Humans are stronger than they appear. I see it now." Ethan laughed softly, shaking his head. "I'm just a guy who tries to fix things, but I guess humans do have a spark." Lyra stepped closer. "A spark. Yes, that spark can change everything. Perhaps even the universe if it is used wisely." Ethan looked at her, feeling a strange sense of pride and responsibility. The universe was vast, dangerous, and full of mysteries, but humans had something unique. Courage, ingenuity, and heart. And in this moment, that was enough. The night stretched on, but for the first time Ethan felt a sense of purpose far greater than anything he had ever imagined. He was no longer just a man in a small apartment. He was part of something larger, a story of survival, courage, and trust that reached far beyond Earth. And as he and Lyra prepared for the challenges ahead, both of them understood something essential. Together, human ingenuity and alien knowledge could overcome even the most advanced threats. The journey was far from over. The night was long and the dangers were many, but in the heart of an ordinary human, extraordinary courage burned brightly, and that courage, combined with clever thinking and trust, might just be enough to protect them both. The abandoned facility was quiet, but the silence was deceptive. Ethan and Lyra both knew that their temporary refuge would not remain safe for long. Outside, the night seemed calm, but the hum of distant engines and faint lights on the horizon told another story. Her pursuers were closing in. Lyra moved through the dark corridors of the building with silent grace, her glowing eyes scanning every corner. Ethan followed, carrying a small backpack filled with devices and tools they had prepared. His hands were steady now, his mind focused. The fear was still there, but it was tempered by determination. Humans, he thought, had a strange resilience. They could rise to challenges that seemed impossible. Tonight he would prove it. "They are near," Lyra whispered, pausing by a broken window. "I can feel their energy signatures. They know where I am." "We have little time," Ethan nodded. "Then we fight smart, not hard. We use what we have and think faster than they do." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "Exactly. That is human, clever and brave." Together they moved deeper into the facility, setting up small energy traps and signal disruptors along the main entrances. Lyra's device hummed softly as it projected invisible barriers that would confuse and slow the alien drones. Ethan checked each connection, ensuring every wire and sensor worked correctly. Hours passed like minutes. The tension was thick, but they remained calm, communicating with hand signals and whispers. Every sound outside made them pause. Every shadow seemed like a threat. And then, finally, the first wave of pursuers appeared. They moved with precision, sleek machines with glowing sensors and sharp appendages designed to detect and capture. Ethan's breath caught in his throat, but he did not falter. Lyra whispered instructions, and they both sprang into action. Ethan activated a series of devices, sending pulses of energy that disrupted the drone's sensors. A small squadron of 3 drones hesitated, scanning the area, confused by the signals. Lyra released a focused energy field that created a temporary shield, blocking one of the machines from moving forward. "It's working," Ethan whispered. His hands moved quickly, adjusting the devices, sending out bursts of energy that forced the drones to retreat slightly. But the alien machines were relentless. They advanced again, recalibrating and moving with terrifying speed. Ethan realized they could not rely solely on technology. They would have to be creative, unpredictable. Lyra glanced at him, her eyes glowing faintly. "Your move," she said, Ethan thought quickly. He grabbed a nearby stack of old metal crates and tipped them over, creating a noisy distraction. Sparks flew as they hit the floor. The drones paused, sensors recalibrating to the sudden commotion. Ethan smiled faintly. "Humans adapt," he muttered. Lyra released a concentrated pulse from her device, sending the closest drone off balance. Ethan took advantage of the confusion, activating a hidden mechanism that triggered a small, controlled explosion. The sound and light stunned the machines for a moment. "Good thinking," Lyra said, her voice filled with admiration. "Even in the face of danger, your mind works fast. That is why humans endure." Ethan gritted his teeth. "We're not done yet." The drones regrouped, more cautious this time. They scanned the building with precision, moving closer and closer. Ethan and Lyra stayed hidden, using shadows and barriers to their advantage. Every movement was deliberate, every action calculated. Suddenly, a drone broke through a weak point in the barrier. Ethan reacted instantly, flipping a switch that sent a strong pulse of energy directly at it. The machine convulsed and fell, but 2 more approached from different angles. Ethan's mind raced. "Lyra, we need to combine everything," he shouted. Lyra nodded. She activated her device fully, connecting it to every trap and barrier they had set up. Energy fields shimmered throughout the facility, creating a maze of invisible walls and false signals. The drones hesitated, confused and disoriented. Ethan moved among them, adjusting devices, sending bursts of energy to force them into traps. The battle was intense. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and the hum of alien technology filled the air. Ethan's heart pounded, but he did not stop. He was a human, ordinary in many ways, but extraordinary in spirit. And right now, his courage and ingenuity were the difference between capture and survival. Finally, one by one, the drones began to retreat. Their sensors failed to navigate the energy fields, and the combination of human creativity and alien technology proved too much for them. Ethan and Lyra watched as the machines slowly withdrew, disappearing into the night. Lyra exhaled, her eyes dimming slightly. "They will return," she said. "But for now, we are safe." Ethan leaned against the wall, exhausted but exhilarated. "We did it," he said, a small smile on his face. "I can't believe it. But we did it." Lyra studied him, her expression filled with respect. "You are remarkable. Not because of strength, but because of mind and heart. Humans have qualities that even the most advanced machines cannot predict." Ethan chuckled softly. "I guess we're full of surprises." She stepped closer, her glowing eyes meeting his. "Yes, and that is why humans endure. You adapt, you create, you think, you act. Even when faced with forces far beyond your understanding, you survive." "That is extraordinary." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. He had always thought of himself as ordinary. Simple man in a small town. But in this moment he realized something important. Humanity's strength was not in technology or power alone. It was in courage, creativity, and the will to protect those who could not protect themselves. They spent the next hour checking and reinforcing the facility, preparing for any return of the pursuers. Ethan's hands were tired, his mind alert, but he felt alive in a way he had never felt before. Lyra worked beside him, her calm presence steadying him. Together they were a team, human and alien, facing a threat that neither could handle alone. Finally, they sat down to rest. The night outside was quiet once more. Ethan looked at Lyra, her eyes reflecting a mixture of exhaustion and admiration. "You know," he said, "I never imagined my life would involve fighting off alien machines in the middle of the night." Lyra smiled faintly. "Life is full of unexpected events, and sometimes the unexpected reveals the true strength within. You have shown me that humans are far stronger than I imagined." Ethan laughed softly. "Well, I guess that's one thing we can claim for our species, resilience. We never give up, even when the odds are against us." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "Resilience, courage, ingenuity. That is what defines your people. And perhaps that is why I survived tonight, because I trusted a human." Ethan felt a sense of pride that went beyond himself. It was for humanity, the ability to face impossible odds, to rise above fear, to protect and fight with nothing but determination and cleverness. The first light of dawn touched the broken windows of the facility, casting long shadows across the walls. Ethan and Lyra sat together, exhausted but unbroken. They had survived the ultimate confrontation. At least for now. Ethan realized something essential. Humans might be small, fragile and limited compared to the vast universe, but they had qualities that no technology, no power, no alien fleet could match. Courage, intelligence, heart, these were human strengths. And in moments like this, they shone brighter than any star. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch warm and grounding. "The journey is far from over," she said softly. "But tonight, you have proven that humans are extraordinary. You have my respect, Ethan, and my gratitude." Ethan smiled faintly. "We make a good team," he said. "Yes," Lyra replied. "Humans and aliens, together. Perhaps that is how we survive. Perhaps that is how we endure." The facility remained silent, the night passing into early morning. Outside, the world was ordinary and calm, but inside, a remarkable story had unfolded. One of courage, ingenuity, and trust between species. And though danger still lingered, Ethan and Lyra had proven something important. Even against overwhelming odds, humans could rise to the challenge. For Ethan, the truth was clear. He was a human, ordinary in many ways, but capable of extraordinary action. And in that capability lay the promise of survival, the spark of ingenuity, and the courage to face whatever the universe might throw at him next. The confrontation had ended, but the adventure was far from over. And as the first light of day filled the abandoned facility, both Ethan and Lyra knew that their journey was only beginning. The early morning light spilled through the broken windows of the abandoned facility. Ethan sat on the floor, exhausted but alert, watching Lyra carefully check her device. The previous night's confrontation with the alien pursuers had tested them both in ways neither could have imagined. But for the first time since she had arrived at his door, Lyra seemed calm, her glowing eyes steady and thoughtful. "They will not return for a while," she said softly, her voice carrying relief. "At least, not until they have regrouped. But we cannot remain here forever. We need a plan to get me home." Ethan nodded. He had thought about this all night. He had learned quickly that Lyra's world was far away, and the journey back would be dangerous. But he also understood that humans had a unique quality, the ability to adapt, to think quickly, and to act with courage. If anyone could help her, it was him. Then we start planning, Ethan said, his voice steady. We find a way to get you safely back to your people. I'll help however I can. Lyra's eyes glimmered faintly. I did not expect such commitment. Most humans would have run long ago. You are extraordinary, Ethan. Your people are extraordinary. He laughed softly. I'm just a guy who wants to do the right thing. But I guess humans have a way of rising to challenges, even when they seem impossible. They spent the day preparing. Ethan examined Lyra's device, learning how it communicated across long distances and how it could project energy fields for protection. Lyra guided him patiently, showing him subtle ways to combine human tools with alien technology. It was a learning experience for both of them. Ethan marveled at her knowledge while she marveled at his ingenuity. By mid-afternoon, they had a plan. Lyra would activate her device to signal her people, a small fleet of advanced starships that could safely extract her from Earth. But the signal had to be precise. Any error would draw the alien faction back to them. Ethan's hand shook slightly as he helped calibrate the settings. Are you ready? Lyra asked. Ethan took a deep breath and nodded. Ready as I'll ever be. She activated the device. A faint hum filled the room and beams of light shimmered in the air, creating a protective field around the facility. Ethan watched as the energy pulsed and shifted, holding back any residual danger while sending a precise signal into the stars. Minutes passed. Then far above the Earth, tiny glimmers of light appeared in the sky, growing larger and more distinct. Lyra's people were coming. Ethan's heart pounded in awe and relief. Humans had helped make this possible, not through power but through courage, careful thinking, and cooperation. They are here, Lyra said, a smile touching her lips. We must move quickly. They left the abandoned facility together, moving through the quiet streets toward a small clearing where the signal indicated the starships would descend. Ethan could see the sleek ships appearing above the trees, their surfaces shimmering as they prepared to land. You don't have to come with me, Lyra said softly as they reached the clearing. This is your world, your life. I would not ask you to leave it. Ethan shook his head. I want to see you safe. I've helped this far, I'm not stopping now. Humans don't give up on those who need help. Lyra's eyes glimmered with admiration. That is why I trust you. I knew when I arrived at your door that humans had something unique. Courage, compassion, ingenuity, qualities my people rarely see in one being alone. You have proven them all. The starships landed with quiet precision. Lyra's people emerged, sleek and glowing, moving with speed and grace. Ethan felt a pang of sadness knowing she would leave, but it was mixed with pride and happiness. He had played a part in saving a life from another world. Lyra turned to him. Ethan, before I go, I have something for you. She reached into her garment and pulled out a small object, delicate and glowing softly. This is a token. Not a weapon, not a tool, just a reminder of trust, friendship, and what humans are capable of. Keep it, and remember, you are extraordinary. Ethan took the object carefully, feeling its warmth pulse in his hand. Thank you, he said, his voice steady despite the rush of emotions. I'll never forget this. Or you. Lyra smiled faintly, then nodded to her people. We must go now. As the starships rose into the sky, Ethan watched them disappear into the horizon, leaving behind only a faint shimmer of light. He felt a mix of relief, pride, and longing. The universe was far larger and more dangerous than he had ever imagined, but he had learned something essential. Humans had courage, ingenuity, and heart. And in moments that mattered, those qualities could change the course of events. Back in his apartment, Ethan placed the small, glowing object on his desk. It was a reminder of what had happened, of the extraordinary night when an alien woman knocked on his door and changed everything. He sat down, taking a deep breath, reflecting on the events. Humans might be ordinary in many ways, he thought, but in spirit, they were remarkable. Even against impossible odds, they could adapt, protect, and create solutions that no other being might consider. Courage, he realized, was not about strength or size. It was about action, heart, and persistence. Days passed, but the memory of that night stayed with him. He thought of Lyra often, wondering how she fared in her journey home, how her people reacted, and whether the galaxy would ever fully understand what humans could do. He smiled at the thought. Maybe one day the universe would know. But for now he had learned the truth firsthand. Humans were more than ordinary. They were resilient, brave, and capable of greatness. And that knowledge, Ethan realized, gave him hope, not just for himself but for the world. One evening, weeks later, as he looked up at the stars, a faint shimmer appeared far above the horizon. It was subtle, almost like a distant star twinkling unusually bright. Ethan felt a thrill run through him. He did not know if it was Lyra returning a signal from her people or something else entirely, but he smiled. He knew one thing for certain. Humans had a place in the stars. They had courage, ingenuity, and heart, the qualities that mattered most in a universe full of unknowns. And maybe, just maybe, humans could inspire beings from other worlds, teaching them that even the smallest and most ordinary species could shine brightly when it mattered most. Ethan sat back feeling a quiet pride and peace. The adventure was over for now. Lyra was safe. The pursuers had been delayed and he had proven something essential. Humans could face danger with intelligence, courage, and compassion. That was a power no technology, no alien weapon, no force could ever take away. The glowing object on his desk pulsed softly, reminding him that extraordinary events could start with a single choice. A choice to act, to trust, to help. And Ethan knew he had made that choice, standing as a human in a small apartment, ready to do what was right. And perhaps somewhere far beyond Earth, Lyra looked back at the stars and remembered the human who had saved her. A human who had shown her courage, ingenuity, and heart. A human who had proven that even in the smallest of worlds, extraordinary things could happen. Ethan smiled, feeling the weight of the universe in a different way. Humanity was small, yes, but it was strong, clever, and brave. And that strength, quiet, unassuming, and unwavering, would carry them far, maybe even to the stars themselves. And as night fell over the town, Ethan looked at the sky, filled with endless possibilities. Humans were ordinary in appearance, but extraordinary in spirit. And that, he realized, was the greatest power of all. The night had passed. The danger was behind him. But the story of courage, ingenuity, and trust would remain. Humans had proven themselves, and the universe, though vast and unknown, was now a little brighter for it.